welcome everyone. Welcome to the MIT Sloan CIO Leadership Award Dinner, and I have to say I am so glad to see all of you in 3 dimensions. You have no idea. So we're here for a great view of Boston. I think you'll agree that this is a wonderful venue for good networking, good food, drink, and most importantly, to honor 4 great CIOs. I do have a couple of housekeeping items. First of all, I know you have the Tim ticket thing, and I just want to say you have to reattest tomorrow morning. These are MIT rules, they're not my rules. So there you go. You have to go tell it again that you don't have COVID. And the other thing that I want to mention is that tomorrow we have a reception after the symposium, and it's going to be right here, back on the 7th floor. Tomorrow we're going to start at Wong Auditorium, which is across the street, but the breakouts and the innovation showcase will be back here. So before we get started, I want to thank everyone who has made this dinner and the symposium possible. And what differentiates the symposium from other IT conferences? The symposium is the only conference that brings together the academic thought leadership of MIT with the global, in-the-trenches experiences of the leading CIOs and industry experts. And the symposium is organized by a team that's a combination of staff, vendors, and volunteers, and I just want to call out a few. First of all, Tina Krasinski, where is she? Our program manager. She just works tirelessly to make this happen. A couple of vendors I want to call out. Jiro Studio. Jiro's right there. He brought us through 2 years of virtual symposiums, and also Warner Communications, our PR and marketing firm that I think has just been a dedicated vendor for years and years. I also want to mention our volunteers. So if all of the organizers, so we have staff, we have some vendors, and we have the volunteers, could all the volunteers raise their hands because they all work in different capacities to make this happen. So I want to thank all of you for your intellectual curiosity, your dedication, and your hard work. And the dinner and the symposium would not be possible without the support and backing of the MIT Sloan Boston Alumni Association and its board of directors. So could the board of directors raise their hands and thank them? And we have our thought leaders. Now, we have been working hard to expand our relationship with ever more groups within MIT. And so I want to thank the academic partners that participate, and you will see that these academic partners provide speakers, they provide cross-marketing, they sometimes lead conversations, they do all kinds of things, and we're talking about the MIT School of Management, IDE, which is the MIT Initiative on the Digital Economy, CISR, which is the MIT Sloan Center for Information Systems Research, CAMS, which is cybersecurity at MIT Sloan, CCI, which is the MIT Center for Collective Intelligence, the MIT Executive Education Program, ILP, which is MIT's Industrial Liaison Program, the Martin Center Trust Center for Entrepreneurship, CSAIL, which is the MIT Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, and the MIT Sensible City Lab. So could all MIT academics raise their hand and let's give them a big hand. And finally, I'd like to thank our speakers for bringing their insights and their war stories to the symposium because, you know, we're not just about theory, we're also about putting theory to work in practice at enterprises around the world. And could the speakers participating please raise their hand and give them a big round of applause. Last but not least, I want to thank our sponsors, because without their financial support, this dinner and the symposium would not be possible. Specifically, I'd like to thank our Blue Diamond sponsor, McKinsey, Diamond sponsor, Google Chrome Enterprise, Platinum sponsor, Adobe, Gold sponsor, Strongbow Consulting, Cast, Darktrace, Cisco, PwC, and KPMG. Each of our sponsors has great insights into information technology, and I urge you to visit them. Let's give them a big round of applause. So now I'm going to circle back to the main primary purpose we have this evening, which is going to be to honor 4 exceptional CIOs. And to do this, I'm going to call up my partner in crime. And that man is Dr. George Westerman. George is a senior lecturer with the MIT School and a principal research scientist in the MIT's Open Office of Open Learning. He is co-chair of the MIT Sloan CIO Leadership Award Committee. The award criteria are derived from his book, Real Business of IT, How CIOs Create and Communicate Value. George is also the co-author, along with MIT's Andy McAfee, of the book Leading Digital, which many consider to be the Bible of digital transformation. Next month, George and his team will launch the Global Opportunity Initiative, which aims to digitally transform the process of workforce learning for people around the world. Please join me in welcoming George Westerman.
Wow, this is a truly momentous day. And not just because we have these award winners here, not just because we're all in person, but actually this is the first time I've worn a necktie in almost 3 years. And I don't like it, so we're gonna change that again in a bit. This process, and as Alan said, this is really a volunteer-run effort. And the fact it comes together as smoothly as it does with all the disruptions that happen is a real credit to Alan and his ability to organize things and to stay calm when everything goes crazy and to put it back in order again. This would not happen without Alan making it happen, so thank you. I'm also really happy to see some of our past finalists for the award here. They're being speakers, and they're in here, so I see 2 of them here. And Marina and Shamim. Who else was here? Mike McCreeve is here. Vipin Gupta's here. There you go. So if you don't get any time with our finalists this year, you can get the last year's finalists. They're also kind of smart, and we'll be fine there. So yeah, the award process, you know, we get dozens and dozens of applications every year, and we go through a very rigorous process to make sense of them. One of the things that I've seen in the awards over the last couple of years is that the CIOs are also often saying they're CIO and Chief Digital Officer. And it leads to an interesting set of conversations about what's the difference, and why do you even need to say that, or what do you get from saying that? And you know, people, when they choose those names, they choose them deliberately, because IT and digital have so much to do together. And at least in our research, you know, we found that CIOs don't need to lead CIOs don't need to lead digital, but you shouldn't try to do digital without your CIO in the conversation. And sometimes we're seeing, I actually wrote an article about 10 years ago that said, should your CIO be Chief Digital Officer? And people kind of chuckled, but it's happening all the time now. Right? Because who else has better skills in many cases to make these changes happen? Another trend, though, that we've seen in the last 2 years is with all the disruption of COVID, we've seen 2 different kinds of applicants. One kind of applicant was just so proud about keeping the business running in spite of COVID that they nominated themselves on the process of keeping the company running and making it smooth. We kind of rejected those before they even went out into the review process, because everybody that has applied has done that. There's a second set of people, and those people not only did all that hard work, but they actually used the disruption of the COVID to do something more. To say, hey, you know, everything's up in the air now. Now's our chance with this burning platform to do something different. And those are the ones that we really want to recognize with this kind of an award. And those are the ones that we have at this table here. They not only didn't get stopped by COVID, but their companies have done great things, and they've set in place things to make themselves more agile to do even more things over time. And we look for the strong leaders who lead transformative change and put the capabilities in to do more. And I'm really delighted that our 4 finalists are that way. So I do want to walk through the 4 finalists, but I also want to talk about the more volunteers that are here for the process that made happen. And so we have a 3-round process here. The first, it's 3.5. The first piece of it is Mike Johnson and Lindsay Anderson and I read every single application. And we basically desk rejected the ones that weren't going to make it farther. This is a new thing we've done just recently. That's the kind of people I told you about, that we're really proud that we kept the place running, just to make the life easier. And that's been an innovation we announced, and Mike has been doing really strong work on that, on helping put that process in place and make it rigorous. But once that happens, then we send it to volunteers in phase 1 to review these things. And there are a lot of these applications, and we've got multiple faces that see each application to make sure we get a fair read on them. And so anybody, who was the phase 1 judge here? Aha, most of them stayed virtual. Okay, they're listed on your program here, in there. And so from there, then we go to a process of getting around 10, between 8 and 12 people that we send as semifinalists to round 2. And round 2 is one of the most fun meetings I ever have every year. Round 2 is where past finalists get to read the reviews of the stuff, get to read the applications of the semifinalists and decide who gets to join them in the club of MIT CIO Award finalists. It's fantastic because these are people doing great things. We've already recognized them doing great things, and they know how to judge who else is doing great things. So the fact that these people are even named finalists means some of the best CIOs in the world recognized they're good enough to be admitted to that club and to have the global attention to the kind of work they've been doing. So we like to say that all finalists are winners, and we really mean that. And that's why we also give such attention to all the finalists. So there will be a finalist panel that I'll run tomorrow where you can all meet the finalists from this year. But every finalist also is on another panel that's related to things they're doing. So for example, Wafa Mamili's on mine about talent coming up, and other people will be on choosing topics that really matter to them to go forward. And the reason we do that is because every finalist deserves to be a winner, but we've got a contest, we've got to choose a winner. And so that's how we get to round 3. And round 3 of the process, we have a small group of us. You need to raise your hands at the round 3 judges. Alan's the chair of the Symposium. Ray is my partner in crime here on the award process. Lindsay is the former chair of the award, of the whole gig. And and Irving can't be here. And so that's our group. And we interview each of the finalists. And we reflect back on other finalists we've met over the last 10 years, and we come to a decision. This is the most difficult decision we've made in 10 years. It's a real credit to the team we've got together, that so much respect for each other, so much willingness to give for the team, even if you're not sure that you're going to get what you wanted out of here. But honestly, it was the most difficult decision that we've ever made, and we finally came to a winner. But before I announce the winner, I want to tell you about the finalists. Okay. So I'll go in alphabetical order on them, and I hope I say these names properly. Vagesh Dave, where are you, Vagesh? Okay, great. Come on up, because we're going to have we're going to take a picture with the award, aren't we? Yeah, great.
Other finalists, take your tag off. George, come over.
Okay. Well, I should get down as well.
Yeah, well, okay, if you want to. I can stand up if you want.
You stand up.
You want? Achilles, all right. You're in the middle.
You're in the middle.
Sorry. We didn't rehearse this, you can tell. Okay, good to go. Okay. Thank you.
So Vagesh works for a company called McDermott, and I had never heard about McDermott except that his former CIO had also been a finalist for us. McDermott is in the business of building oil rigs LNG plants, these kinds of things. Big, expensive, complicated things. And they're hard to design, they're even harder to construct, and they're even harder to operate. And McDermott is in the business all the way through, from design, through construction, through operation on these things. What Vagesh has done that's really interesting is he's put digital twins in to make this process work better. And the digital twins are, there's two of them. There's one for the design process because so much can go wrong in the construction process. So much can go wrong in construction, and if one thing gets out of date, millions of dollars are lost and months are lost. So the digital twin just to keep the project on track. And then they've got another one, which is the digital twins in operation. When we see how these things were built, what are we doing, when we see all the sensors. So you can imagine on a LNG plant how many sensors there are. You can imagine how many parts and supply chains that need to be managed in getting it done. Vagesh's team has been able to put that together. They're already seeing great results coming out, and there's more to come later, including possibly even turning these digital twins into products they can sell to other people, right? So it's very, very cool stuff. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Next up, Manoj Kumbat from Kimberly-Clark. Where are you, Manoj? There you are. Great. Good. Hi there. So Manoj works for a CPG company, Kimberly-Clark. We all know their products. Anybody that's had children has brought a lot of diapers from his company. And CPG is an interesting place, right? You've got global supply chains. You've got global marketplaces. Every retailer wants to be a segment of one, and they have to treat them as a little bigger segments than that. And it's a very distributed world. It's not like you can control this top-down, though the way you'd like to in that world. And so what Manoj has been able to do is put some kind of more sanity into that process and more predictability and customization into that process through retail execution and retail sales processes. So the idea of being able to personalize working with that retailer, also knowing what to do when things break and how to get there, and of course then doing all the execution to make sure it works. It's a big, complicated company, and it's a big, complicated set of processes. But on a global basis, they're making this happen for Kimberly-Clark. The other fun thing is then, you think about where's the advanced stuff, because there is certainly machine learning in the predictive analytics and the customization, but that's old news now, right? But when he starts talking about smart diapers, that gets interesting. And so congratulations, Manoj. Great. Next up is Wafa Mamili. Can we over here? Okay, great. Okay. So Wafa's Executive Vice President, CIO, and Chief Digital Officer. There's that word again at Zoetis, which is one of the world's largest animal-oriented, veterinary animal care companies in the world. I didn't know who they were until we met. But once again, doing very interesting things there. Wafa was brought in to drive a transformation in the company. And that's nice when you're brought in to drive a transformation, because then the board's behind you, but then you actually have to execute. And very, very quickly, in the course of 2 years, 3 years, she's made a 180-degree change in this company in the ability to work forward in the relationship between IT and digital people, in the culture of the organization. And then she also did the next generation sales engine, which helps to really, truly personalize every sales interaction, not only with retail stores, but with veterinarians and with large animal owners and these things. So the idea that every salesperson knows when to visit this person and what to say, and also knows if there's a problem, how to give a solution to that problem before the customer even knows that problem's there. So it's really a fascinating kind of thing. that same kind of thing I was talking with Kimberly Clark, this is a really hard process. And then to drive the kind of organizational change that's also happening in a company that isn't necessarily known for being the fastest in the world or the most technical in the world, it's really an impressive proposition with culture and skills and other things too. So it's congratulations, Wafa. And last but not least is James McLennan from Liberty Mutual.
Not wearing company colors. Yellow tie. Oh, really nice.
James is Global Chief Information Officer at Liberty Mutual, which is I guess we could call it a local company, but it's a global company. Right there. There we go. That's great. It's not that one. It's this one. Yeah. And Liberty Mutual is a mutual company. And mutual companies have their own way of doing things. They're driven by a different set of forces. They're driven by a different set of financials. And that can make it good or bad to drive change in the organization. And James was interesting because he wasn't brought in to drive huge change. He was brought in to make IT work. And over the time he's been at Liberty Mutual, he's convinced the organization to transform in ways that it probably didn't necessarily want to do. But from the standpoint of IT, been able to help the CEO and the board understand over and over again how to drive more and more change. And so taking insurance, which is an incredibly complex and difficult process to run, and able to streamline the work to make it go better. But also in a mutual company, being able to turn it into a very agile world. So they're doing all the things you'd expect with better underwriting and flood prediction and sales systems and all these kinds of things. There's things you'd expect in a good insurance firm. And they're doing even better now, processing claims differently, all these things. You'd expect to have that happen. But the other thing that's happening that's really interesting at Liberty Mutual is James and his team have put the process for agility into the core. So they have, the machine learning and data analytics team have ways to spin themselves up really quickly. They're working in partnership with MIT to do some really fancy analysis. And I think you told me, but certainly I know from the MIT side, the MIT people don't bother themselves with boring questions. And so they're really doing some really advanced topics they're looking at. And then once the team's got something, they can spin it out and test it just with the push of a button there. And then more and more innovation happening in this process too. So you take a large, complicated business like insurance, you make it a mutual fund, making it an even tougher problem, and making it not having been brought in to drive transformation, but by convincing the company to transform over and over again. That's a really pretty fascinating story for a leader. So James, congratulations. What's that? Yeah. Oh, okay, great.
Pardon me. Prop change. Go ahead.
So, as I said, this was the hardest decision we've ever had to make. And if we weren't all very good friends, it would have been even harder, and probably somebody would not be alive anymore. And that's not why Irving is gone. He's just, it's a different situation. But we did come to a decision. It was a really hard decision. And, but I'm really proud to be announced the winner of our contest this year. So the winner of the 2022 MIT Sloan CIO Leadership Award is Wafa Mamili.
Don't kill anybody.
Thank you.
You want to talk?
Wow, I don't know where to start. I don't know if I did not prepare a speech, but this is the most humbling recognition. And for many of you in the room, you're going to relate with this. I come from Morocco, and I spent so many years in French, so that's kind of my cute accent, just to solve that for you. And I come from a very humble family, so I come from a poor family in Morocco. So being here, coming to the US after years in France and the UK, going through struggles and achievements and failures, having people to hold me back and push me forward and believe in me more than I believed in myself. I never dreamed of being a C-level executive. I did not know what it was. I surely never dreamed of being standing here and getting this award. So this is for the team, the Zoetis team. This is for my own boss. Bosses and supervisors matter. Culture matters. This is for the Zoetis culture. The Zoetis reimagining animal health. We have the tagline, and of course we all had to design it and make it happen. This would not be possible without all the people behind me, my family, my sponsors, my mentors, people who pushed me, and would definitely not be possible without my most amazing supporting boss, who's the CEO, Christine Peck, and my executive team all around me, the executive team, my peers, and of my team who believed in the mission, believed in the big dream. I've always thought and talked about the big, hairy, audacious goals. I'm a Jim Collins fan. And then push and lean forward. So thank you very much, but this is definitely the most humbling experience, and I will very proudly share with my team and with everyone who believed in me throughout my my career, and my parents who have passed away years back are going to be very proud tonight. Thank you very much.
Well, George says it's back to me, and I think that my directive is pretty simple. Eat, drink, and be merry. Have a good time.